And so, it's amazing what you can do starting with spreadsheets, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think our thesis from the beginning has been, especially within the QuickBooks space, so many people are still using Excel and even Google Sheets. And there are obviously a lot of web apps out there that are trying to replace it, but there's so many people that are still just comfortable using them that I don't see them moving to web apps anytime soon.
Right. So the premise of yours, aside from the fact that the data can be live and changing, did I get that right? Did I sum it up? You don't need to copy and paste it anywhere. It's live cell by cell using the templates that have been built, right? So not transferring the information into another sheet, essentially. But the premise is that it's going to stay spreadsheet based. It's not going to get look any different than a spreadsheet.
That's right.
And the reason for that is you feel that people are really comfortable with that format. They understand what a spreadsheet looks like.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, but on to the pretty part though. Can you put in colors and turn the type sideways and freeze rows and do all of that stuff as well?
Yep. Yeah, so I can maybe give you a demo.
Sure.
This is the example of what it looks like within Excel. The green data right now is using these Genius Sheets formulas. We tried to keep them as simple as possible. So right now, the first argument is the name of the category. And this, for each company, is going to be the specific name of their general ledger accounts. So we connect to your QuickBooks. You can see your list categories in here. These are just the general ledger accounts for each company. And then you can use that to cross-reference for these formulas. And then we have the start date. So if you enter only in one date, it'll pull the full month. And once these cells are linked, anytime you want to update them or change them, you hit this refresh data button. It'll resync all the data to QuickBooks. And then to your question, if you want to start changing spreadsheet or adding things, you can do whatever you want to these, and it's not going to throw off the references. So the rest of the spreadsheet can be as customized as you want it to be. And as long as you have once you have the cells linked.
Okay, but the data will still be live when you make those changes, obviously, as long as you don't change the formulas.
Yep.
And so give me a little bit of on how this would all work or what the benefit, what.
So with the Genius Sheets formulas, what you can do is you can actually pull your reports with the formulas so that the data in the spreadsheet is live when you export it. And so this is an easy way to learn how the formulas work while seeing one of your reports kind of pulled in real time. So what I'm going to do is I just open up what we call a report selection tab. This has a number of these are just your standard reports from QuickBooks Online. You can pull them over different time periods. There's nothing too differentiated about these general reports, but what we can do with the profit and loss, the cash flow statement, and the balance sheet is I'm going to hit this with formulas button, and it's going to pull the report into a new tab of the spreadsheet. And when it exports that report, all of the data, instead of being static data, is going to be using the formulas.
Okay, so that was actually going to be a bit of a question of mine. If this is something that we're giving to clients, you can pull a couple of reports into the same spreadsheet with various tabs of information, right? Yep. Okay.
Yep. That's exactly right. So I can do when
you're doing that, are those dates the same dates in that particular spreadsheet that you're sending off to them?
What do you mean?
So let's say we've got, and I don't know why you would want this, but it's a question that came to mind. So we've got the P&L from November 1st to December 31st. In another tab, could you put in a balance sheet year to date?
Yep.
Doesn't have to be the same date range?
No. So it doesn't have to be the same date range. You can have each of these tabs as customized as you would like them to be. So you could have one tab that's your P&L over the last 3 months, another tab that's your P&L over the last year, another one that's budget to actuals. And so each tab won't impact the other.
Right. So lots of flexibility that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so once you have this export, if you are a user who doesn't have one of those reports that I talked about that's already customized and has metrics in it, and you want to dress this up, so you want to create a P&L and you want to start adding calculations in here, once you have this live sheet with the formulas, you can start editing this spreadsheet in any place, and it's not going to throw off the formulas. So what I'll do here is I'll just add a row, maybe one more profit margin, and we're just going to take these. Nope. We can start adding percentages. We can start adding colors and formats. And what you'll see is the data is still going to be with that live linkage back to QuickBooks Online. Now this becomes useful because if you wanted to start doing this over a longer time period or rolling basis, we can start adding formulas that might say, month, I want at the end of the month from this month to make it the next month, and then change the format to date. And now when I copy and paste this row of data, all I'm going to do is resync my date. So I'm going to get rid of this end date. And so it's going to pull the full month of January, and we have the dollar signs in there, so it's locked. And now you have your full, once I copy and paste this down, now you have your January actuals in the same format that if you want to keep in this gross profit calculation or anything else, you can keep all of that formatting as you continue on this report on a monthly basis.
Okay, just I guess because I have been kind of on a 6-month sabbatical, speak slowly and in capital letters. When you put in that new date range, it then pulled the information out of QuickBooks?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yep, just by entering in the formula, hitting enter, it'll pull in all that data. And what you can also do is you can have this built out for future months.
Right.
So you can have, I'm going to copy this across going all the way through, let's say June, and then I'll copy these formulas all the way down across. So we have the table built. And as each month ends, or as the time passes, what you can do is once you log into the tool, all you have to do is hit this refresh data button, and then it'll sync the most up-to-date data in this table.
Okay.
And one neat thing we just added was within this list categories tool, we'll show the user if there have been any categories that have been added in the last 60 days. So if you have existing reports already built, or even if you don't, and you just want to make sure that you're capturing all of your different accounts and line items from QuickBooks, you can see in here whether or not anything was added. And I'll give you the date it was added as well.
Okay, so for example, the amortization one, you need to add that account now into this sheet, correct?
Correct. So
it didn't read that and add it into it.
Right. We're not doing that yet. So what you would do as the user is you go into wherever you might want to add it. We'll just copy the name of the category in here. And then because we can adjust the formatting, but because we have the formulas all set up, all we have to do is paste them down and it's going to reference the category.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, I mean, that's kind of nice. That's definitely a lacking thing in QuickBooks natively, is that you can see month over month over month, right?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. And do you have carry on with your demo. I keep interrupting.
No,
pushing
okay.
it, but you have a demo that you go through. So keep going.
Yeah. So then the next part of this becomes, if you do have pre-built and existing reports, you can integrate the formulas into those reports. And so let me go back to the budget that we started on. And so this is an example. If you have a budget already built with all of the data that's static, you can replace the actuals column with these Genius Sheets formulas. And initially, the mapping process is just making sure that the names of these categories match the exact names of the accounts in QuickBooks. So what we'll see from a lot of users is things like they'll have their table, they'll have their budget to actuals, and the name of the category will be salary plus wages. They'll sync up all the Genius Sheets formulas and realize, oh, the actual name of the account has an and sign instead of a plus because I have the formula referencing this column here. It's not going to pick up the correct name just until you have them matching. And so we'll put the and in, and then the data is now going to be populating.
Oh, I got you. Yep. Okay.
And so the beauty of this is you're no longer limited to the referencing data on other tabs or pivot table formats. So as you're rolling your budget to actuals month over month, we can add the new column here, and then we're just going to change these days to March 2020. Theoretically, and then you'll replace the forecast with the budget here. Down, and then all the data is going to be automatically updated. And now your budget to actuals is going to be populated for March.
Okay.
And the final kind of piece of the demo is you also have the ability to drill down on cells to see what makes up those expenses. So
Oh, okay.
if you right click on the cell, we click on Genius Sheets, drill down, it'll generate the data in a new tab, and I'll show you all of the underlying transactions that make up that expense.
Okay.
And so we went through refresh data, we went through the pull. The only other thing, so I guess pull reports, you have the ability to have some filters on them. So with the profit and loss, you can pull the data by class, customers, vendors. The transaction data you can pull for individual accounts as well. We're rolling that out later today. And the kind of next steps of these formulas, the iterations, will be supporting multi-company support. So you can do consolidated reporting and have multiple QBO entities within the same spreadsheet. And then we'll also be adding the ability for you to filter these. So if you want your travel expenses by only one class or only one department, you'll be able to enter that as a filter within the formula.
Okay, let's take a step back to multi-location, no, multi-entity.
Mm-hmm.
So, oh, wait a minute. I saw classes in there. Why do I feel I read that classes isn't live yet?
Using our formulas, you can't pull by class yet.
Oh, okay. So I did read correctly. Look at me.
You did read correctly. So you can pull your profit and loss by class, but that'll just give you a static export.
Oh, okay. I got you. See, it can still go in the same place. It's just static.
Yeah.
Okay. And travel, we saw multi-entity. Right. So the multi-entity report, what would that look like? Do we see, you've got a consolidated financial that is the overall for all of those companies, right?
Right.
So it's the P&L combined for all of them. First off, do they have to be the same currency?
Initially, yes.
Yeah, okay. That would just make sense, right? Okay, and so if we are pulling the consolidated information for the companies, we can then carry on in that same sheet and put in the information by entity. And I know you already said you can have whatever report you want in a sheet, right?
Yeah, so what we're in the process of building will be another category filter in here that'll let you tag a specific entity. So each entity will have an abbreviation for it. So maybe this will be like KP will be the name of the company. So you'll be able to reference different companies' data within the same spreadsheets with the same flexibility. If that makes sense. Meaning you could have this column A through C all be one company pulling the data with the formulas, and then
right.
the data in this column F could be pulling a separate company on a live basis using the formulas as well.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't even have to be in a separate tab.
Right.
Right. Okay. Okay, great. So carry on with your demo as if I didn't take over again.
No, so I think that pretty much covers it. You know, the big use cases we're seeing have been budget to actuals, P&L reporting, when you have more sophisticated P&Ls from just the output, you have other metrics in there, you have a financial model, you have something a little bit more sophisticated. And then we've also seen people using the live data from the balance sheet in order to start building different schedules from that.
Okay. And who do you think would benefit most from this? Let's start with what kind of accounting or bookkeeping firm?
The bookkeeping firms specifically that do more advisory, we've seen this be a better fit for, because they're not just sending kind of your P&L and balance sheet to clients. They have more sophisticated metrics in there. They have reports built out that are frankly very well designed, formatting in them. They include a lot of great information that you wouldn't find on your standard P&L. And so being able to pull that data in that kind of more dynamic and flexible way has been a great fit for them.
Okay, so now, because here's the thing. There's so many people that, you know, we're hearing, okay, that are doing advisory work, that are doing this, that are doing that. And so this is a little bit off topic, but maybe a good opportunity to hear it from somebody who's building based around that. What would be some different kind of metrics? What I always hear people struggling with is, yeah, I want to do more advisory work because that's higher level and I'm more involved with the client, but what is that really? So aside from the not-for-profits and charities and all that, we'll come back to that in a minute, right? Because that's an obvious thing to hit up here. But what would be something that would raise somebody up to a higher level of advisory work that Genius Sheets could do for them? Am I asking a question? Yeah, okay, you're nodding.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So I think I'll answer it with a little bit of a question as well, which is, it is very much industry specific. So if you're doing advisory services for law firms, depending on the size of the law firms, certain metrics like percentage of top 10 customers might be really important. You might have your accounts receivable and accounts payable metrics, especially important, knowing how frequently those turn over. You might have certain margins based on the number of employees you have or the number of client engagements you have. And so what we've seen is when you start thinking about templatizing things, or we start templatizing our
templatizing, there's a word I haven't heard, but okay, yeah, we're templatizing now.
When you start getting into that, the challenge becomes, for that to be useful, it has to be industry and business model specific. And so it's not something we have kind of rolled out at this point, but it's the direction we want to go, of saying, if you're in X industry, we have a pre-built dashboard and this financial model and metrics that fit your specific industry, because these are what, you know, best practices are across the industry. So I think it's definitely more challenging for people kind of getting into that initial, I want to break into advisory and start helping my clients. Whereas if you're you're one of the more advanced people who's been doing this for a long time, you know what your clients need, right? You know that construction firm has to track, you know, these 5 metrics in order to stay relevant. It's gonna be different from, you know, we're doing advisory for a restaurant group that needs to track these other metrics.
Right, okay. And what would be obvious, and I think you're about to state the obvious, I'll let you come back to what industries would really benefit from this, but not-for-profits, which are budget heavy, right? And so that's an obvious win with a system like this. But how, so now, okay, so the Genius Sheet is running, and then, I'm asking maybe super obvious dumb questions, but you download it and it can be shared with anybody that they need to share it with.
Yep.
But what about live commenting if you're building it in Google Sheets? Again, I guess that's obvious. Whatever the native possibilities are in a Google Sheet or an Excel, does it integrate with 365 or is it just desktop?
It works with Excel Online. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I mean, again, that's maybe a bit of a dumb question for Kelly, but
yeah. So the level of, in terms of commenting, it's exactly kind of what you are currently doing, or the current processes of, if you're working with clients and you're just leaving little sticky notes on your Google Sheets or you're leaving comments in Excel. none of that are things that are going to throw off the formulas or break the linkages in any way.
Right. And so you can do everything that you can do in terms of limiting access so they can only comment and yada, yada.
Yep.
So you're going to have to be careful. So let's say that somebody gives somebody editor access and they go in and they change a formula in a cell. There's not really a warning for that or a system. You have to be very careful how you share this out, correct?
Yeah. So one thing we've seen is firms will give editing access to the specific cells or areas that have Genius Sheets formulas in them, and then they'll lock the rest of the spreadsheet. So the users, the clients, whoever it might be, can go in, they can change all the numbers, but they won't be able to change the specific cells that have the formulas themselves. And so that kind of prevents them from doing something that would mess it up in a way that they wouldn't be able to catch.
Right. And so do the, staying on kind of the topic-ish, good luck with me, is what other industries do you see that we serve that would benefit from this system, from Genius Sheets?
Yeah, so the big ones are people doing budget to actuals. So a lot of nonprofit users have come onto the system so far. We've also seen a lot of restaurant groups who are doing more frequent, so sometimes weekly dashboards and weekly reporting, because they can set that up using the formulas as well. We have some kind of SaaS companies in there as well, or startups who are using, I guess that's probably more on the outsourced CFO side, where they've built full financial models. But very traditional industries that we've seen have started. So we have a little bit of everything, frankly, in terms of the user base of, we have construction groups, we have contracting companies, we have anybody who has kind of a financial model that they have on a rolling basis, where they do need those more customized metrics or reports. But I didn't fully answer your question, but.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, it's a bit of a hard question. I mean, we know the obvious ones, right? And that you named them. That would be the not-for-profits. That would be the restaurants. I mean, my restaurants, when I did restaurants, I don't have any anymore. When I did restaurants, I mean, we were transaction heavy and needed to be totally in the weeds of wages and cost of goods sold, right? SaaS companies, sure. Anybody going for big rounds of funding, I guess it would make sense. Yeah, and the consolidated company thing is nice. So, SaaS companies sometimes tend to have interrelated companies. Well, so do restaurants, right? That's what really twigged me was when you had mentioned about the intercompany thing. So, because the restaurants that I had intercompany.
Yeah, we've gotten
different entities.
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of requests for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. And so, what else would you normally cover in a demo? What kinds of things do people ask that I should be asking here? So
the big stuff that we get asked about is a lot of variations of, if I do this, will it mess it up? So can the data be referenced in other tabs, and or can you use pivot tables off of it? The answer is yes. Can you copy and paste the tabs? Yes. There are lots of, basically you can think of the data, it's as the same, you'd be using your Excel spreadsheet, but now if you open the ad and you hit refresh data, it's all going to update.
Okay. And so do the reports, you need to set the reports up in QuickBooks first? Or is it a two-way sync? No, how does that work? I mean, the P&L, it's obvious. You pull a P&L from a date range and it's got the general ledger accounts in there, and away we go. Same with the balance sheet. But do the reports start in QuickBooks, or do they start in your program?
Everything in our reporting tool is from QuickBooks. So we're just pulling the same report that you would access from QuickBooks Online, just made it easy for you to not have to go back and forth.
Okay, so you don't have templates built for, no. Okay, so that's all coming from QuickBooks.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in terms of kind of like templates, what we're working on now is doing things like budget to actual templates, financial model templates, and then starting down the road of what we mentioned a little bit earlier of, my goal would be that we have really hyper-specific, industry-specific dashboards and modeling templates, where if you're a first-time advisor and you've never worked with a nonprofit or you've never worked with a restaurant group, we have a dashboard that has those specific metrics in a format that's useful for both the client, and you as the advisor to start learning how to do that better.
Okay.
But we're not quite there yet.
Okay. But ultimately you're designed more for people that are already doing this kind of work, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the premise of yours, aside from the fact that the data can be live and changing, did I get that right? Did I sum it up? You don't need to copy and paste it anywhere. It's live cell by cell using the templates that have been built, right? So not transferring the information into another sheet, essentially. But the premise is that it's going to stay spreadsheet based. It's not going to look any different than a spreadsheet.
That's right.
And the reason for that is you feel that people are really comfortable with that format. They understand what a spreadsheet looks like.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Okay, yeah. And what would although I know, because I'm looking at the form you filled out, and you know what? So I saw it, so hopefully you don't mind if it does, if we do approve the recording. So Trevor's favorite apps are Slack, HubSpot. HubSpot is awesome, and DocSend. I don't know. We need to work on your idea of fun, possibly. But just to give you an idea of how I'm a nerd for fun apps too. So my favorite fun app is Typeform.
Ah.
So I could just build stuff in Typeform all day. I mean, there's a ton form builder apps, but I just find Typeform has that beautiful interaction. Like just the end user experience is gorgeous.
Yeah. I don't know why I blanked on it. I actually should have. There's a app that we just started using called the Arcade Demo that I love. We put it all over our website. It's little like GIFs, but you click on them and then an action happens. So it's like a mini interactive demo, and they've been great. I think it's super cool. That actually is kind of a fun app.
Okay, Arcade Demo, is that what that's called?
Yeah, Arcade Demo.
Okay, now I got to look at that. Ryan Lazanis, who's a guy up here in Canada who has Future Firm, takes accountants and drags them into like scaling their firm. He's awesome. He sent out in his newsletter last week, I think it was Jasper.ai, that now I had to put that on my list, which basically helps with writing. It finishes writing, not like Grammarly that fixes your writing. It predictively decides what you're going to do next, and I can't wait to try that. So, oh dear. Anyways, back to where we were. You filled out the typed form. Boy, that was a bit of a road trip. So you filled out the type form. And so I already do know that who your ideal client customer is, but go ahead and tell me.
Yeah, so our ideal client or customer are people, are either advisors who are in the weeds with industry specific or business model specific reports that they've built for their clients and are providing these advisory services on more of a high touch basis, or the kind of SMBs themselves who have built financial models, budget to actuals, forecasts, things that they're currently doing manually between Excel and Google Sheets, and they want a way to automate that.
Oh, okay. So interesting. It's interesting when you read something versus have somebody tell it to you. I didn't catch the piece about SMBs using your product. So it is not, your market is not just bookkeepers and accountants.
That's correct. I apologize. Yeah.
Now, why do you apologize? I'm the one that didn't read it. It's right here. I'm looking at your answer right now. And now
did I say that or I didn't say that?
You did.
Oh, I thought you said I didn't say it. That's why.
No, no, you did. You wrote that in there, but when you said it, it sounds different than when I read it. So what I read here was bookkeeping firms with 10 plus clients that manage the monthly financial reporting for. Already have custom reporting dashboards in Excel or Google Sheets. Then there's a space, and then you said the other half is individual businesses. I'm just going to read it out, with between $1 and $5 million in revenue that have financial models built out in Excel, more complex, and dashboards, yada, yada. What I thought was these are the clients of the bookkeeping and accounting firms. So you go directly to the SMBs as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Now, just to ask then, maybe is that a bit of both though? So for the bookkeeping firms with 10 plus clients, would then, it doesn't really matter what the kind of the revenue or whatever is going on for those clients. It matters what kind of advisory work the bookkeepers are doing and accountants are doing for them, right?
Right.
Okay.
So the revenue was really just like a loose gauge of where our current customer base is. And so as we start adding other integrations, so being able to pull your Salesforce data or Stripe data or some of these other data sources that people use for financial modeling or reporting, the size of the company is going to start increasing because especially as they get larger in scale, they have more demands for those types of data within their financial models.
Okay. Yeah. So what other kinds of things would you want people to know about your app then? Because I already know some of the things that you do really well. Do you want to give me a little bit more insight? Like I just missed a beat on who your target audience is because I read it rather than you telling me. So do you want to tell me some more about like what would really set you apart?
I think what really sets us apart is the flexibility. And so specifically, if you are doing any of these more advanced reporting, budgeting, or forecasting, is still in Excel or Google Sheets, because our data is linked to the individual cells, it becomes much easier for you to not worry about linking to other tabs where the linkages can break, or when you're adding or subtracting new categories or new data, it becomes more difficult. So that flexibility becomes our benefit, especially as we start increasing the number of ways you can filter and cut your data. So combining and consolidating entities. And then as we start adding in the ability to cut your data by class or by department in individual cells, especially for those financial models or dashboards, you'll have unlimited flexibility to keep your existing Excel or Google Sheets based reports, but automate the full data ingestion process.
Oh, data ingestion process. Okay. And so when you look at bringing, and I'm probably about to come up with a problem that's not going to exist, but let's say you're going to start pulling in data from sources outside of the GL. So it's coming in through, I think you said Stripe or Square or something, right? Or Salesforce. By the way, somebody that filled out this form for me once, Salesforce was one of his favorite apps. I'm going, Salesforce, really? I mean, it's powerful, but it's Salesforce, right?
That's the first.
So anyway, let's say we're starting to pull that data in. And again, I'm probably creating a problem that doesn't exist. What about duplication of data? Let's say some of it has already come across to QuickBooks and some of it has not. And I realize that all reporting in the perfect world would be in real-time financials. But you know, that doesn't, I don't mean to shock anybody, but real-time financials do not always happen, no matter how often we're in the books.
Yep, it's a great question. So the way the tool is designed will be, as you start adding in those connections, the types of data you're pulling in will have kind of a different formula moniker. And then the actual data itself is going to be a little bit different. So if you're a company who wants to start integrating those data sources, you will likely have to choose maybe one or the other, rather than like, oh, I'm going to use this Salesforce for my revenue, but then the rest of the data is going to be the QuickBooks expenses. Like I would not see that as the use case, which is I think kind of what you're getting at, because you are going to have like a bit of a mismatch if you're trying to duplicate the same data for the same time period between the different systems. It's more designed for if you wanted to add in your like future deal pipeline, or you want to add in more specifics about the deals themselves, where that deal information is only being housed in Salesforce. So if you want to cut the data in a certain way.
Okay, I got you. That makes sense. Okay, so it's the same as when you're doing any of this kind of, especially in the e-commerce platforms, I guess.
Yeah.
You got to be careful about not duplicating data for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.